Good morning. Hey, it's Tuesday. It's just after 9 o'clock, and I have my good friend, Dr. Aaron Chapa, here in studio. If you have stumbled across this video on accident, on purpose, smash the share button. Let everybody know how you're starting your day, how you are handling this Tuesday. Maybe you're watching this tomorrow, or you're watching this next week, or a random day, but thank you so much for taking the time. Smash the share button. Let me know, what do you have going on today? What are you dealing with in your body that you weren't born with? There's a lot of things that come along as we develop from one day to the next, and right now there's a lot of stressful factors going on in the world that will potentially influence your body in one way or another. So today we're going to be talking about stress. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. Hey, is this normal? What should I do about this? A lot of people always ask, hey, how should I start my day? What's a good thing to eat? But stress is real. Stress is something that I feel like everybody deals with in one way or another. And Dr. Chapa, we're going to be finding out what he has to say about stress and how you can improve your life right as we kick this on the FM. Here we go. Good morning. This is KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM. That was Jennifer Rose Garcia. That's my wife. That's her song right there, Shine On, one of them from her album.
Nice.
Chapa, how you doing today?
I'm fantastic. Gardy, how are you this fine morning?
I'm good. It's a nice Tuesday, overcast outside. I had a good drive here. It took me like half the time.
I know it. The last several weeks
that?
has been absolutely like I can leave. I have another little event that I go to prior, and I can leave a little later from that and get here with ease and grace. And it's I'm like, wow, that's what people that tell me. I had a lady drive in from Spring yesterday, and she goes, yeah, I mean, with no traffic, it only took me 50 minutes to get to your office. And I'm like, but with traffic, it could be an hour and a half to 2 hours. You know what I mean? It's just nuts. And traffic in and of itself can be a stress. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it can.
And people really do deal with stress in many ways. And road rage is a real stress that people deal with. We kind of joke about it.
Yeah. Have you ever had road rage?
Oh, of course. When you're first starting to learn how to deal with people on the road, when you start learning how to deal with, whatever emotional situation you just walked away from, and then now you're late for the next appointment, and that appointment prior didn't go like it was supposed to, and then you've got, Joe Schmo like driving terribly on the road, and you just like really, and how you deal with it, and learning to deal with it in a way that you realize, no matter, if we're just talking about stress in the roadways, they've done statistical analysis that if you run a red light, you will shave off approximately 45 to 50 seconds, to your destination, and yet you risked a lot running a red light. So they're really, when you look at and I love Waze. Waze is really nice.
The app,
the GPS app, because it doesn't matter which way you go. If they take you on the side roads, the back roads, the side, the turns and twists and all the fun stuff, you still only get to your destination like 5-6 minutes faster. And so it's 5-6 minutes really worth driving cortisol levels up, driving a change into your adrenal response system, and potentially, if you're chronically road raging and chronically in the car all the time, where now you're not managing your immunological system well because your adrenal system is so ramped up. Mm-hmm. People come in states of anxiety, and that's one of the reasons when I do an initial patient evaluation, we do the blood pressure, but we don't do it in a form of like, hey, sit there, let me measure your blood pressure, because who knows what rough day they've had. It might be 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and they might have been speeding to the nth degree, hooting and hollering and making all kinds of ruckus in their car, and their blood pressure's through the roof because they've got, a hidden anger management issue, resentment problem, or maybe they got off a bad phone call. And so if I do their blood pressure and their blood pressure's through the roof, and my first inclination is, oh, you got high blood pressure. Well, that's not necessarily true. So when people come in, we do what's called an orthostatic hypertension test, and we look at the adrenal status, the kidney status, and the heart status, and see what the body's doing lying down to standing up. Because no matter how high your blood pressure is lying down, it should always go up 8 to 10 points. And it's a very easy tool that you can do in the privacy of your own home once a week, and you can measure your own blood pressure morning and night at your own house in the privacy of your own home, and where you're feeling the most safe and the most relaxed that you'll be, and then you can bring those reports in, and we can see what real numbers are doing. And so we never, just assume that just because a person's blood pressure is running hot in the moment, that their blood pressure is always hot in the moment. There's always a reason. And if road rage is your problem, I'm going to tell you that we've got answers for you. Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center helps people deal with stress in stressful seasons of life. And tonight, Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center is going to be kicking off at 6:30 a Zoom stress lecture on what to do when stress happens. We've obviously all been dealing with different layers and levels of stress over the last, I guess now, 5 weeks, is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And thereabouts. And, the realm of uncertainty, the fear of the unknown. Stress is real. I hate blaming things on stress personally, but frankly, because I feel like it doesn't really solve the problem. It doesn't answer the question of what to do when stress happens. It doesn't answer how to perform and how you're to manage your frontal lobe so that you don't fly off the handle and lose your cool and hurt those you love, and because that is one of the sad states of affair right now, is that we have seen a rise in alcohol. We've seen a rise in marijuana use. We've seen a rise in domestic violence because of the stress of confines that we are under, because we're all so we're on thin ice, if you will, when it comes to stress, and our fuses are short, and so we don't handle things like we should.
It's self-medicating, right?
Yeah.
When you take the alcohol and the marijuana, you're trying to fix the stress of life yourself.
And you're checking out. You're trying to, find that space where you feel that you can, cope with life, but then you might not deal with sound well. I have patients that come in and they say, I just don't deal with noise. Like, noisy things and clatter and clamor make me nervous, makes my insides jumpy, and I get my blood pressure rises.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is a symptom pattern that is not normal. It's common, but it's not normal. Because is it normal for you to find yourself abnormally angry with your family, who you're supposed to love and cherish, that God has blessed you with children, or blessed you with a wife? The Bible says he who finds himself a wife finds himself what, Gardy?
A good thing.
A good thing.
Yes.
Praise be to the Lord. I got me a good wife, and I found me a good thing. Praise God. And so why do we oftentimes find stories where we hurt those we love, and looking back, it was something that shouldn't have been. It shouldn't have been that. It wasn't a big deal in the first place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that's what happens whenever you have nutritional deficiencies in your body. That's what happens when you don't have the skill sets to deal with stress. That's what happens when you don't have, I feel, the armor of God on day in and day out, the belt of truth, the breastplate of righteousness, the helmet of salvation, the boots of peace, and the sword of the Spirit, and the shield of faith. If we don't walk and gird ourselves up with our armor day in and day out, how are we going to deflect the challenges and curveballs of life? No one knew 2020 that we were going to walk through this pandemic together.
What did you plan for 2020, Dr. Chapa? You had some, and you still have some big plans.
Oh, and our plans are still moving forward. Praise be to the Lord.
Yeah.
And but things have gotten halted. I mean, we have lots of change coming via our office. We have opportunities to expand and to serve our people all the better. Had we been in a position where all that would have been in place, we would be able to offer infrared therapy, which is near, mid, and far infrared, where it penetrates down deep into the cell structure, mitochondria. It burns out viruses, molds, all kinds of bacterium and pathogens that people are exposed to in their homes. Right now in our area, there is a neighborhood where mold has run rampant through the community. And, this is millions and millions and millions of dollars of homes damaged and families displaced and health cost through the roof because of the onslaught of mold. Mold is another biochemical stress that the body deals with. So I guess, as we kind of launch this thing, we launched into this year, our vision was, how do we get everybody? Like, how can we serve as many people coming in with so many different ailments? Because nobody walks in with A, B, and C as a choice option on their chest that says, just fix A for me. It's like they've got a syndrome, a symptom pattern of plenty that we have to deal with that is distracting them from being their best. And stress comes in so many shapes and forms that we found that we have to do, not just attack back with nutrition, but with lifestyle, with diet and feeding the body. We've got to feed the machine so it can stay healthy. Because remember, what you eat's important, but what you don't eat is more important. So if we can get people eating well, nourishing their body well, choosing how to hydrate well, all of a sudden life begins to work better for them as they work through the challenges of their day, of their week, of their month, of their year. And so then we would have cryotherapy, where we could do hot-cold therapy, infrared to cold, where you can dilate the tissues, kill off a bunch of pathogens, and then squeeze the lymphatics and mobilize trash through your lymph more effectively, so that things aren't stagnant. Because we're finding more and more people have old trash, sometimes 4 and 5 and 6 days of trash caked up inside of their microvascular tissue, their lymphatic tissue, that's blocking their energetic frequency of their neurological response to evolve at a level to protect them from the common flu, or to protect them from parasites, or protect them from whatever thing is after them, the boogeyman. And so we've got to figure out ways to counter that. Our detox food baths. People are constantly dealing with pesticide sensitivities and chemical sensitivities and food dye sensitivities and frankenfood sensitivities, and the more of these things that come in, we've got to figure out ways to draw these things out. And so our office will be able to expand and be able to reach people at many different levels and layers to serve them at a more fundamental level. And I've never wanted to be a cookie cutter practice. We all are similar in so many ways. We all have to eat, we all digest and assimilate, and we all excrete. And that's the simple of the physiology. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the game is easy. It just means that it's simple. It's simple to understand. And then now it's a matter of joining forces with Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, so that we can teach you how to equip yourself with the tools to manage life in the 2020 time frame. And if you're not detoxing in the 21st century, you're missing a huge healthcare piece, because now you've got biochemical stress. You have metals and chemicals coming at us from all different angles, whether we breathe it in, drink it in, or eat it in, or we even rub it in. It's coming in so many shapes and forms. So we've got to incorporate different new thinking in this new world in order to deal with the technological advancements that we all love dear, but also come with a price.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in the world right now, and so there's so many different things that can cause stress that are new, that are different. Even things that are different. A change in your life is like, this is stressful. I don't know how to handle this. I haven't been here before. So there's a lot of people that are dealing with situations that are brand new. Right now it's 9:17. This is KHEAradio.com, 99.5 FM. If you're watching on social media, hit the share button. There are people, and it's probably maybe even you. There's people in your life as well that are dealing with factors that aren't normal, and there's stress going on. So we want to hear from you. If you're watching on Facebook, are you dealing with stress? Are you dealing with things in your life that you don't know how to control? What do you do? How can you change those? What are some things that we can do, Dr. Chapa, to help out our situations?
Well, first and foremost, at Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, we just invite people know that we're here, we're open, and we're present with you, for you, and we're going to be in the trenches alongside you, fighting this good fight of faith that we're all going through. And you can give us a call at 281-554-8600. We're on all the social media platforms, Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center. When you Google it in your on Facebook, where you can find access to like our events like going on this evening. We hope everybody attends and tunes in, because we feel like the information is very, very relevant and very valuable in helping families parents deal with the stress more effectively, because one, we all have the stress, right? It's how our bodies deal with it that allows the outcome of stress to have a negative effect or to have no effect. And so my hope and desire is that it will have no effect on our bodies, so that we can live better, be better, and stay better all the days of our life, not some of the days of our life, not only during times of plenty, but all the days. I love the scripture first and foremost. We lean on, we trust in the Lord with all our heart, and we lean not on our own understanding, but in all of our ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct our path. And I want people to feel that, and know that we're being led by spiritually to stay in the trenches and to give people tools and education so that they can better deal with the stress management, whether it's through herbs, whether it's through lifestyle, whether it's through conversation, whatever the modality we can get. But we're very heavy on education.
Yeah, Dr. Chapa, your office is in League City. It's, justlivewell.com. You can go to the website as well. And you were kind of talking about some of that. But one thing I love about Facebook and social media, the internet, is people can tune in from anywhere, and you can treat them from anywhere. So right now, Zachariah is watching from Nigeria. Just commented and said, "Hey, I'm watching you from," and I can't pronounce that. I don't want to butcher where you're from, but I do know it says Nigeria. So, hey, good morning to you. Maybe good evening. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what where we're at in the time zone. But hey, praise God. I'm glad you're tuning in. And thanks. We'd love to give us a little update. What's going on out there in your world right now? And but yeah, so and this is a worldwide thing. We're all dealing with it, but even let's just take the thing out of the conversation. What are people stressed about? Their kids are at home. That's a stress. Like, how do you entertain your kids? Like yesterday, we had a mommy meetup at our office, and we had a Zoom call. We had about 15, 20 people on the call, and it was awesome because we talked about how to wind down your kids in the evening time, because our houses are so lit up like Fort Knox that we can't shut down the house, and kids go to bed at 10:30, 11:30, 12:30. And now that there's no reason to get them up at 6 in the morning, they can just sleep in.
Should we try and keep a routine?
I think kids love routines and boundaries now. And does it have to be that early? I don't know. Like my day pretty much starts every day at 5 o'clock. So I'm a early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise model. I truly, but I'm an early bird. My wife, on the other hand, she's a night owl. They said that for every 10 people that 2 of them are extreme night owls. They go to bed between 1 and 2 in the morning, and they sleep in. And then the 1 will be an extreme morning person, and the other 7 people will be in the middle somewhere. And my wife is an extreme night owl. I'm an extreme morning person. So, I hate to say, a lot of times we're kind of like ships, just sailing past, because whenever she's on, I'm off. When I'm on, she's off. And so we have to really work hard in our marriage to make sure that we find times to connect and to be present with one another. And I think that's one, positive lifestyle thing that you can just consider philosophically, that relationally we are designed to be in companionship with our significant other, and so whenever God created man, and He said that man's not designed to be alone, He created woman, and I believe He took the rib because the woman protects the man's heart. And my wife always likes to say, I don't know if that it is necessarily biblical, but I think it works. The man's the head, but the woman's the neck. The head doesn't go too far without it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there's this this unity that happens where you bridge that companionship, where y'all bear the burden of bear the burdens of life together. And because we have many burdens, we have spiritual burdens, and we have physical burdens, and we have life burdens, and we have job burdens and financial burdens. And these all have a physiological impact on how our body does day in and day out. And whether or not, you sleep at night, that is a burden. We talked about sleep heavily yesterday and how to get good sleep. And that is one of the number one things you can do to restore and recover from the previous day's stresses. And, there was an experiment done from a 17-year-old. He went 11 days with no sleep. And within 4 days, He was already losing cognitive capacity. He was already struggling with memory. He was already observing tactile, like he would reach for something and miss it. Like his skill sets have already diminished. He started becoming irritable and cranky. And by the end of the 11 days of no sleep, he was as a Alzheimer's a patient would be memory wise. So so in 11 days of no sleep, at 17, you can show all the symptom check lights for Alzheimer's. So is Alzheimer's a elderly disorder or is it a lifestyle disorder? There's the question. And I believe it's the lifestyle disorder. It's actually diabetes of the brain. We understimulate the brain. The nervous system wants to be awesome. And the more awesome it is, the more it can handle and deal with stress, of all kinds, biochemical, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, all the different angles. And the more the nervous system is stimulated in a healthy way and has an opportunity to recover and regenerate and to file, and it also needs filing time, hence sleep. That's one of the major things that happens when you go to sleep and you get all that excessive surge and growth hormone. Your body is transferring information from short-term to long-term memory in a filing system that you can recall the next day and the next day and the next day.
I have a question. So when he did get sleep, did things kind of come back all at once, or do you know?
So according to when I was reading through it, they did not come back immediately. He shaved years off his life, days off his life, hours off his life. Like it physiologically
caused damage.
Caused a layer of damage. But now, can he recover from that? Oh yeah, I think he can. I think we can help put him into states of parasympathetic repair, because you have two systems in your body: your sympathetic nervous system and your parasympathetic nervous system. Your sympathetic nervous system is what most people come into my office with symptom patterns. And by the way, a symptom pattern could be anything. It could be headaches. It could be skin rashes. It could be anxiety. It could be belly pain. It could be heart palpitations. It could be kidney pain, back pain, radiating pain down your legs. Tooth pain, eye pain. It doesn't matter. Whatever the symptom is, a symptom pattern that you were not genetically born with is an indicator light that something is wrong in your body. And it could be due to something as simple as a sympathetic overdrive, where you have too much stimulation coming in and your body hasn't had the ability to process it. So it's just at its tipping point. And now the deck of cards, the house of cards, begins to crumble. And you start seeing everything starting to collapse, and the person's ability to deal with life is less, available to them. And so now, instead of them responding, as the Bible teaches us, with love, joy, peace, patience, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control, the fruits of the Spirit, now we're flying off the handle, running our mouth, and and tearing things down that we could have. I mean, we've all heard it. I've heard of people ruining their military career, or ruining their financial career, or ruining their marriage, or ruining their relationship with their children. I mean, or with their spouses. I mean, communication is the universal solvent, but if your frontal lobe is inadequately firing neurologically, the front part of your brain, your forebrain, is not doing what it's supposed to do because you're tired, or you don't have enough minerals, or you're eating inflammatory foods, and there's neurological stress on the brain from food. Yes, food can cause you to have neurological inflammation, a fire in your brain. Now all of a sudden, you don't respond in a healthy way.
Yeah, so we got some feedback, and I mentioned this earlier, that people have the opportunity to watch from anywhere. So if you are watching, I want to hear in the comments, where are you watching from? And then let me know if you've shared the stream. That does a lot of good for us to help get this positive message out and to help people deal with stress during this stressful time. So Zechariah, who's watching from Nigeria, we asked him, hey, how are things going over there? And he said that they are on lockdown over there. They're experiencing, lockdown here. He asked how we were doing. I said, we're kind of doing the same. He said, we're trying to cope. It's not easy. So this is like a worldwide message that people need to hear all over. How do you deal with stress? It's not just here in Texas. It's kind of an interesting time. I mean, I've never seen anything like this in my lifetime.
No, we haven't, and no one has. And if you will, we are experiencing martial law light. This isn't full aspect, but it's definitely testing the waters, and we've changed the entire way that we perceive and operate our lives. And I mean, my daughter's 14; she's struggling with it. She's not happy that she can't go to the store with me anymore. She's not happy that she can't go see any of her friends when she wants to. There's and I remember as a kid, like, the freedom that I had and liberty to just cruise around and not really check in, because I mean, we didn't. The closest thing that we had when we were in my high school years was a beeper, but outside of that, I mean, you can go 4 blocks that way, you can go 4 blocks that way, and 4 blocks that way. That's your boundaries. Okay. And
Yeah.
Lord knows I covered every inch of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then sometimes on a sunny day, I might expand a little bit beyond that, and but then quickly return back to the circle. And it was hours and hours before I ever checked back in and came home, and there was no fear, no worry, no doubt that I would make it back home.
Where'd you grow up?
In Deer Park, so right on, so about 30 minutes from here.
Okay.
And it was nice, and I don't remember people so having the protective covering over their kids like we have today. Like, today people are legitimately worried about their children, and so it's like, it's just a weird mindset that we have today that I don't even remember 30 years ago.
I think technology made the world a lot smaller. There's a lot of good that comes with technology, but then there's a lot of bad. It allows bad people to potentially infiltrate, and it just opens up and magnifies good situations, but a lot of the times it magnifies the bad situations.
Yeah, and that's a good point, that technology in and of itself can be a stress. Technology is a stress, not only from that angle, but I mean, what is this thing really doing?
Mm-hmm.
All the Wi-Fi that we're exposed to on the regular, like, how much damage does it cause? And it right now is estimated to be the largest biological experiment going on in the world today, because every square inch of our atmosphere is covered in electromagnetic fields. There's radio signals and radio towers and EMF towers and 4G, 5G, rapidly about to infiltrate everything, which is going to change everything to the nth degree. And really and truly, my encouragement would be, don't take my word for this. You ought to legitimately start looking into the impact that the invisible has on you. That it does pierce and penetrate your cell structure. And they are now, more and more people are becoming aware that radiation coming off of this phone up to your head can denature aspects of neurons in your brain and fry your brain. And that there's parts of Europe that have banned cell phone uses under 13 years old because of the negative impacts. But yet here we are, kids feel like they need these things. We give them tablets, we give them iPads, we give them, all the different devices that they can get their hands on, so that we can give them basically an electronic babysitter, an electronic leash.
Well, the hard part about that, even during this time, is a lot of the learning at school
is all online.
It's being done online through apps. This is how we send our assignment. This is how you submit your assignment. Take a picture. There is some written stuff that my son has done, but there's a lot of it through apps.
Yeah, the cursive has left the schools, and kids can't read cursive. Even we have a family friend whose mom writes in cursive, and the son goes, "Can you rewrite it in print?" And and he's 14. He doesn't know how to read cursive. And so at the end of the day, cursive is when you take reading and writing down to the lowest common denominator, as we have done in our school systems, we're not teaching vocabulary at an impactful level. We're teaching one stream of thinking, learn it, dump it, or take a test on it and then dump the information.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the worst forms of learning ever. There's no thinking. The schooling, when you look at these computers, what happens is the blue light and the technological ways of a screen draw your eyes in, where you have what's called fixed gaze. And when you don't activate cranial 3, 4, and 6, or a multitude of your cranial nerves, but specifically these are just 3 different cranial nerves that are stimulated just through the act of eye gaze and eye movement, you sabotage aspects of your learning and development and power of your brain. Nerves that fire together wire together. So when you sit a child in a chair and you expect them to not move and then stare at a screen, that is like the ultimate sabotage for the brain to be its best. So when you see little boys, like when we're thankful that we're able to homeschool on the regular.
Before it was
before
mandatory.
Before it's mandatory.
Yeah.
My kids will literally read and they're wiggling their butt. They're standing up and they're moving and grooving. Nerves that fire together wire together, and it's okay. It's okay that they wiggle. They gotta wiggle. They're boys. Or if you got a wiggly girl, then you got a wiggly girl. I mean, honor the beauty in the way God created them, and feed them well, nourish them well, and you will see their learning style begin to work. But the act of reading pages left to right, or doing eye exercises, playing catch, doing eye drills, and mobilizing the eyes is such a powerful neurological thing for kids, and we're just not doing it. It's that little nugget alone every day before you read a book. Do make crosses and X's with your eyes, holding your head still. Then turn your head to the left and make crosses and X's with your eyes. And then turn your head to the right, make crosses and X's. And you're leveraging and stacking not just 3, 4, and 6, but then spinal accessory nerves and cerebellar activity. And you're changing the dynamics of spatial recognition and how the brain sees and perceives the world. And it begins to take in information and consolidate it and organize it in such a powerful way that nerves that fire together wire together. And then you do that, there's just, the healthier the nervous system, the better you handle stress. The healthier endocrine system, the better you handle stress. The healthier your digestive system, the better you handle stress. And so we've got to start looking at health as a watch. What part of the watch tells time?
All of it.
All of it.
The entire
all of
thing.
It. The whole thing. You can't take out the springs and expect it to work. You can't take out the knobs and the face and the fingers and expect it to work. You won't do what it's supposed to do.
Dr. Chapa, I got a question about stress and looking for answers. Would you say, in your experience, there comes a point in everybody's life where it gets so bad that they are willing to try anything? Or do some people, whether it's stress or any issue that they have, or do some people will they fold? Does it depend where you're at in life?
What do you mean fold? What do you mean like they'll try
this
anything?
Is life. This is my life now. It's stressful. There is no answer. I'm just going to live with it and deal with these issues, and I'm just going to do it. Or, generally, do people look for the answer and they're willing to try something?
I think that depends on if they are willing to learn. If they've got a learner's heart, if they've got a grit in them. I think that some of it's our upbringing, some of it's our wiring, some of it's our our foundation, our nutritional foundation, our spiritual foundation.
Yeah.
Because when people are at that point and they're hopeless, things begin to change negatively and faster. They just see everything. You have two parts to your brain, and you have your positive answers side of your brain, and you have your negative answers side of your brain. And there's a great book called The Magic of Thinking Big that references this perfectly. And it talks about you have little administrative assistants in your head, and depending on which side you feed and which side has been developed and which side has been well developed is how you respond to life and life circumstances. And so, like, if you find yourself always pessimistic and that's not going to work for me, he's full of junk, he does lying, he doesn't know what he's talking about, and it's just negative, it's because you've got little administrative assistants that say when hope is offered at your door, you've already programmed it to go through the negative assistants first, and the negative assistants all show you every reason why it won't work. Remember when you were 7 and you tried this, this, and this, and you tried to be hopeful and positive, and it didn't work? Do you remember when you were 12 and you tried out for the team and it didn't and you failed? Do you remember whenever you went out for the Gleek Cub and you didn't make that either? Do you remember? And it just, your brain just remembers all the negatives. And the Bible says we have to take captive every thought. And if we don't take captive every thought and force it into submission of Christ, and we don't live and breathe by the fruits of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control, then our administrative assistant that are spiritually sound, foundationally rich, and positive, they will get drowned out by the negative administrative assistants. We've got to kill the negative administrative assistants by starving them, by reconforming, reprogramming our mind, and then whenever somebody offers hope to us, when we've tried a lot of things, we realize, you know what? I have tried a lot of things, and a lot of things haven't worked, but God. When what the devil means for evil, the Lord means for good. You know, whenever when the woman with the issue of blood spent all of her life savings and risked everything, she touched the hem of the garment of Christ, and life changed. Or for, you just get up, and why do we fall? So that we can get back up again. And that was said by Batman's butler,
Very wise man.
and of course
Alfred.
and he says, "Why do we fall, sir?" And he's like in his down in the dumps, hopeless moment, so we can get back up again.
Yes.
And life throws us curveballs. We all have fallen, but if we listen to the voice that says, "Do you remember the time where life looked challenging and you did this and you felt this and this began to change for you and you got out of that situation?" And I have had patients, that have come in hopeless and that remained hopeless and we couldn't break through. Yeah, that's happened. Unfortunately, not every case is a winner because people aren't always ready. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. But is it our job to judge who those people are? No, it's our job to continue to cast hope, cast vision, and because people perish for a lack of vision. People perish for a lack of hope. And my Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, every aspect of what we do is to give hope to people that wherever you're at, whatever circumstance you're going through, whether it's maritally, financially, whether it's physically, whether it's in your health, whether it's in your children's health, is we have answers. It's whether or not you're willing to implement the answers that we give you. That's the hardest part. It's simple, guys. Not always easy. It's simple. Everything I say, it works. I promise. It works. If you give it enough time and you do what I ask you to do, you're going to get better. You can't argue with gravity. You can't argue with nutritional laws. I promise.
Dr. Chapa, I have to say, my friend Russell just texted me and said that British accent was the best that he's ever heard in his entire life for Alfred.
Oh, really? I don't even know what I did, but okay. That's awesome.
So shout out to Dr. Chapa's
British accent. I'll continue working on that. And so the people come in and are willing to try everything, and they oftentimes do. And unfortunately, the first thing that's offered to them is hardcore psychotropic drugs that oftentimes sedate the mind and disconnect the human from life, and therefore they just continue down the negative, pessimistic trail. And I had a patient, and she's still doing great today, still employed, still doing well. Life is still going well, dating scene, involved in activities, well, limited probably at this point, but in general. And when she came in, she was suicidal. And so she was at the end of her rope. And with tears in her eyes, she said, with the work that we've done over the last year, and it took us a year. It was a work, okay? There was nothing short of work. I mean, her and I would argue, her and I would fight, but we stayed in it together. And sometimes you've got to be willing to stir that pot, and if we're not willing to stir up love and good works, like Hebrews 10:24 and 25 talks about, then we're going to miss the opportunity to cast vision of hope and light onto people's journey and path. And then they are offered in these lies that psychotropic drugs is their only answer, and because of the fear, now they can't get off the drug. Now they're forever doomed to taking this psychotropic medication, and that psychotropic medication causes all kinds of other side effects, via their heart, via their digestive system, via other stressors and neurotransmitter downregulation in their brain, Remember, nerves that fire together, wire together. Your brain needs two things. It needs fuel, and it needs stimulation. Well, if I sedate you to a point where I'm not firing up multiple facets of your brain, guess what's going to happen? You're going to decline. You've got to stimulate the brain. You've got to get the brain working at high potential and to remain sharp all the time so that you're always ready for the curveball. You're always ready for the stressors. And so the more prepared we are, the less that stress really has an effect on us. Because you can go through life expecting the worst and never being surprised. You can go through life being prepared for life and never being surprised. Which one sounds more enjoyable? Being prepared for life's challenges. That the Bible is very clear that it isn't going to be a bed of roses just because you're a Christian. As a matter of fact, it says the contrary. That a lot of times we will endure hardship. We will endure suffering. We will endure stones being cast at us. I don't really want a rock pegged at me, but I guess if that's the path I have to go, I hope I'd say yes, and I do truly hope I never get pegged with a rock. You know what I mean? But I find that if I look for the negative, I'm going to find it, and if I look for the positive, I will find it. And so it's about your vantage point. So who you feed mentally, emotionally, who you hang out with, what the books you read, the CDs you listen to, the music you listen to. We have to remember the prince of the air is the devil. He owns he owns the airways. And it's due to radio stations like this that are positive and outreaching, that share a message. Somebody told me this weekend, a pastor friend of mine said, the gospel is not just for the unbeliever. So if you're an unbelieving person in Jesus Christ, guess what? The gospel is for you. But if you are a believer in Jesus Christ, guess what? The gospel is still for you, because it reminds you that you need to lay down your life every day at the foot of the cross. Every time George Washington went into battle, what did he do first? There's stories of it. He was a praying man. He feared the Lord. He might not have been a perfect man, but he feared the Lord. And the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge and understanding.
I like that the Bible documents, it documents a lot, right? And it's the gospel. It's, the basis of Christianity. But there's people that God used that were not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Mm-mm. And he's still been able to use unperfect people. And there was a text group going on with some of my friends this morning, and they were just talking about the gospel and some other things. And that's one of the first things that came to my head. Paul wrote, like most of the Bible, the New Testament. Was he perfect? No, he was Saul. He had a bunch of stuff, had a revelation. I need to change, how I'm living my life. And God was still able to use him. Was he perfect after he had his revelation? No, nobody was. But God still used him. Yeah.
He states that. The things I want to do, I don't do. The things I need not do, I do. And then in 2 Timothy 3:16, it says, all Scripture is given by the inspiration of God and is profitable. Everybody wants to make a profit for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness. You see, God is interested in your healing. He's interested in your healing, whether that's healing you from an ailment, something that you were not genetically born with, something wrong with your thinking pattern in your brain, like maybe you've got a diseased brain, or maybe you've got a symptom of a virus, a bacteria, a stomach bug, whether you've got a rash. God wants to heal you, whether it's sin. Maybe you're addicted to pornography. Maybe you're addicted to alcoholism. Maybe you're addicted to drugs. Maybe you're addicted to, the wrong stuff. And you're filling that void, that God-shaped void, with everything but God. But God is still interested in your healing. He's more interested, actually, in your health. And health and salvation are the same root words. He's more interested in your salvation and your overall health and well-being, because you're more usable whenever you're in tune.
If you don't have your health, you really don't have much. You can't, even if you have the perfect plan, you know what you're supposed to do, you can't carry it out if you don't have your health. You just can't do it.
Can't do it. So God is more interested in your health and your salvation. But what God is most interested in, and I think this is a good point, is that he is most interested in your holiness. He's interested in you becoming like him. 2 Corinthians 5:17, therefore I am a new creation. Old things pass away. Behold, all things become new. And so he's interested in us conforming our mind, our bodies, to the shape of Christ and to living that out. Christ was no weakling. He was all God and he was all man. But yet he harnessed all that power in doing the work of the Lord as a human and putting up with all the levels of persecution, rejection, and suffering that we would ever experience on the planet, so that relatability was there and consequence was there and choice was there, and he laid it all down as a perfect being. And like you said, those aspects of the parameters for which we look at our day start to begin to shape how we view opportunities for us. How are we going to deal with life and life's challenges as they come? And if we have a lens of Christ, it's a lot more enjoyable. Even though it might hurt, we still might suffer, we still might judge, we still might make mistakes. At least we're striving every day to lay down our lives, to live and look more like Christ. And then choosing, frankly, to eat better, it's easier to do because you start going the little bracelet thing. What would Jesus have me do? How can I live? I want my own little bracelet. What would Chapa do? Because I really do strive to take out the junk. And I wish I could be even better at it. Like I know beyond a shadow of a doubt. I got working with a guy in another state, and he says that he goes to this grocery store, and they have the best of produce that money can buy. And I'm thinking to myself, I wonder where it comes from. And he doesn't know, because the average soil mineral concentration is 2 to 3 minerals in the ground, primarily additives that are going into our food supply. But it should be like 86 minerals that we need. And so I was looking at my supplement regimen today, and if you're not supplementing, by the way, so like we need detox in our lives to help manage and deal with stress. We need to eat better breakfast and drink better fluids, and we need to incorporate different aspects of fueling and regenerating our body through food and mind and the way we think about things. But I'm sitting here looking at, I see what I do. I'm starting to realize what I do every day is I'm constantly putting in nutrients that are exotic minerals. They're not exotic. They're just minerals that aren't relatively available
anymore.
Well, they're available if you buy it through a supplement. They're just not in your food.
Okay.
I mean, who's eating chlorella?
I quit that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't even know what it is.
I mean, most people sprinkle cilantro, but cilantro has so many benefits in detoxing metals out of your body, but we take such a finite dose of it that you'll never get any therapeutic value out of it. It's always interesting when you look at animals with a tummy ache. They'll go out and eat certain types of grass or berries and things like that. Maybe not your domesticated creatures, but, I mean, ones that truly know in the wild, they know where this stuff is, and they go get it, and they know how to take care of themselves. It's innately in them. And then they pass it down in the generations. Even their kids know how to take care of themselves and their offsprings. And it's fascinating to me that for every poison that is in the world today, and that's why I don't really fear about, what I'm going to eat today and what I'm going to not eat, because for every poison that's coming at me, God's given me 2 to 3 antidotes. And he's given me knowledge and understanding to be prepared and to help as many patients as possible. And that's what Living Well stands for. We give people education, tools, and resources to incorporate the vitamins, the minerals, the exotic minerals, the essential fatty acid base that they need to function at a cellular level the best they can, because we are cellular beings that literally, that's where your health is, it culminates from. Your energy culminates from. Your ability to think is from deep within at that micronutrient level. And we've got to get those nutrients in there. And we've got to get them from everywhere we can get them. And we've got to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that they're safe and effective. And 97.5%, and this is what's really baffling, is when the food is not really good, frankenfoods and make-believe food leads to
Make believe health.
Make believe health.
Yeah.
We've said that a number of times. Then we find out that 97.5% of all the vitamins and minerals on the market are either not safe or not effective. That's a scary number, man. That's like I would never want to play that odd. You got to know beyond a shadow of a doubt. And that's why I work hard at having relationships with people, and that's why I'm on the radio and telling people, because more and more I know that Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center has something to offer people, has something to offer your family, has something to offer your kids, has something to offer you, and wherever you're at, no matter what symptom or what condition. I had a patient come in last week or a week and a half ago, stage 4 lung cancer, so bad that they said, we can't even do chemo and radiation for you. We quit. They quit before they even got started. And I get it. But who are you to judge the grit of the person? What if that person's willing to do whatever it takes? What if they're willing to do whatever they have to do? And let's say that they would have only lived 3 weeks, but now they can live 6 months. Or what if it's miracle? What if it builds their faith and they come to know the Lord and they get saved and their eternal salvation is on the line? But yet we bought them 6 more months to come to know the Lord. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
You don't know. And so be careful about judging a book by its cover and assuming I'm guilty. Paul said, the things I want to do, I don't do. The things I don't want to do, I continually do. But yet still I strive and get my body into submission. I still am judgmental. I don't want to be, but I find myself still doing it. But I catch myself more often because I'm training that side of my mind. Whoa, Chop. Don't judge the person. Give them the information. Teach them how to fish. Let them go out and fish. And let them see. And that's why I tell people, if you stick with us long enough, Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, if you stick with us long enough and let us teach you, train you, develop you, and educate you on why you do what you do, it's okay if you don't get there in a month. It's okay if you don't get there in a year. It's okay if you don't get there in 3 years. Stick to the plan. Stick to the program. Keep working at it, because a little bit of nutrition is better than no nutrition. A little bit of thinking about your diet. I had a guy come in this week, and he says, we were doing a heart sound test, and we were evaluating the valves of the heart, the mitral, tricuspid, aortic, and pulmonic valves of the heart. And he says, I want to get off this blood pressure medication. And I'm like, yeah, I do too. So let's do that. But here's the thing. If I would have said, hey, let's see if we can get you off your blood pressure medication 6 months ago, when he had a bigger issue, digestive challenge, he would have maybe been closed-minded to it. But we helped him with what he wanted to work on. We gave him what he wanted. Now he's willing to let us work on other things. That's called transformational medicine. That's what Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center is all about. So allopathic medicine is just like pill for an ill. You got anxiety? Here's your anxiety drug. You got a high blood pressure? Here's 10. Yeah, seriously, too many. You got acid reflux? Here's a Pepsid, or whatever, the purple pill. And then when people come into my office, initially they meet me as what we call a functional medicine practitioner. And what a functional medicine practitioner is, offers something that allopathic medicine does not offer. Does not offer wellness. We offer wellness. Wellness is you've got symptoms that do not fall into a category of disease, and they have no answer. We have answers, because we understand the functional physiology of the body as a whole, not as an isolated structure. And then what that evolves to, as I continue people through the process, is I want them to be forward thinking. How do you want your life to look like after you've done built it? How do you see yourself 15 years from now, 25 years from now? Oh, I know your dad died of a heart attack at 53, Chop, and you're 40. That's 13 years. But do you have to go down that road? Do you have to follow that same recipe that caused him that heartache and pain? Or can you learn from it? Can you learn from the mistakes of others? They say wise people learn from their own mistakes. Geniuses learn from the mistakes of others. Well, by golly, I want to be a genius. Don't you, Gardy?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so you can learn from the best and see people in their failures and in their successes, and let their lives, their best efforts, determine your outcomes. And that's all we want people to see is I'm teaching people from the trenches. I'm teaching people what other people are going through and letting them know that they are not alone in the fight, number one. And number two, I'm letting them know that there's hope no matter where they're at. You know, one person comes in and they're on their deathbed. One person comes in and they want to get off blood pressure medication. One person comes in and they want to get off of their digestive stuff. You know, they want to fix all that. One person comes in and they've developed a skin issue and they've never had a skin issue before. Well, guess what? Hormones have changed. The toxicity levels have changed. The environment's changed. Life is going to continue to throw curveballs. So the more prepared we are, the more ready for anything we are. We aren't robots. And
not yet.
Well, pray, be careful. Don't even get me started.
Yeah.
Another show maybe. And
next week.
But I mean, the reality is we have to recognize that no matter what you're dealing with symptom pattern wise, if you weren't genetically born with it, we've got answers to help you move through it. And what's going to wind up happening is we're going to evolve you into a thinking model that you will age better than all those around you. One of the best cool stories I've got is that just happened this past week. I mean, I got a lot of cool stuff this past. I have seen miracles every day. Every day, Jennifer, Amber, and myself, we see miracles every day. Praise be to the Lord. You know, the minute you walk across our threshold, man, we've already prayed for you. You're being touched by the hand of God, just choosing to walk across the threshold. Just come say hi, come do a foot bath, come do a laser, come do a visit with us. I mean, you have already been blessed and touched, and that's really cool. But he said his wife comes up to him and says, "Honey, how come all the other guys that go play golf with you have pot bellies and no butt?" And I mean, not you, of course. I mean, you.
Oh yeah.
You look. I mean, and he does. He's lean. He's tall, and his handicap went from a 6 to a 0. I mean, he's like he's living the dream, and I'm like, and here's the difference. He chooses to be in the transformation realm where he submits to the care that we teach and share, and he implements it to the best of his ability. He is not perfect, but he implements it to the best of his ability, and he sees a level of results that none of his buddies are seeing. And I'm telling you, just a little of me and Jennifer and Amber, chewing on your ear and being that little angel on your shoulder that's telling you, get up when you fall. That's encouraging you. One more step. The difference between the winners is one more step. Just keep going. You can do this. I know it's hard. I know you getting little Johnny to take those supplements is not easy. I get it. But what are you going to quit to? You're going to quit to drugs? That ain't going to solve your problem. That's painting over rust. It's just a matter of time before it comes back. But what you can do is begin to change the thinking of your family. Start eliminating the foods that drive inflammation and drive fires into your life and cause your body to start malfunctioning at a rapid state. We call that accelerated aging. Nobody wants to accelerate aging. Everybody wants to de-age. That's why we go to all these beauty care processes and programs to get everything looking good and smelling good and feeling good. So that all the ladies are ticked off right now because their roots are showing.
Me too.
And so we all that's why you got a hat on, right?
Yeah,
I'm embracing it.
It's my quarantine look.
It.
No, this is 100% my quarantine hat. I was looking for my quarantine look, and I was like, I have a hat thing. I was like, that's it.
That's it. And so but I think that at the end of the day, this is the message. Is no matter what you're dealing with, whether it's a physical stress, a biochemical stress, an emotional stress, a spiritual stress, I just am unsure stress, the fear of the unknown stress, wherever it is, give Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center a call, 281-554-8600. Visit us at our website, justlivewell.com. Come out or Zoom in tonight. Hey, look at that.
I like it.
Zoom in tonight. And at 6:30 on our Facebook page, it has the Zoom information about our class. And we're going to be talking about solutions, resolutions, and processes that you can go through. We're going to have some cool giveaways that we'll be offering on our Zoom call. So we want you to like it, share it, be a part of it, be there, and then learn what we have to share with you, because we believe it will change your life and that you'll be in for a treat.
Dr. Chapa, here was a question. This is from Kathy. She said that there was a book. She said, what's the name of the book about thinking big? And I said, when was this brought up? She said,
Magic of Thinking Big.
Magic of Thinking Big.
Yeah, I believe it's David Schwartz. I believe. I love the forward in the book. I think it's the forward or the little dedication, and it's dedicated to his son. His son said he wanted to be a professor, and his dad says, "A professor? That's pretty cool. What is it that you want to be a professor of?" He goes, "I want to be a professor of happiness," and that's what I hope that you guys hear in me and through me. And I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. I'll bring it next week if you'll help remind me, Gardy, and send me a text when we're done. If you'll send it actually right now, I'll get right on it. But I mean, I've read this book 5, 6, 7 times. It doesn't matter, Kathy, where you open this book. You will find a nugget that will bless you. It talks about how to conquer fear through taking action. It talks about excusitis and how we literally are our own worst enemy. And I know people that have literally memorized this book. And I'm not saying you should memorize the Bible, but this book is so good. And think about it, the magic of thinking big. The magic of thinking big. You've got to. There's something there. You've got to learn to think differently, to think bigger, and the bigger you think, the more impactful and more empowered you will be in tackling challenges that come your way. Mark Victor Hansen wrote a book, Dreaming Bigger Than You Ever Thought You Could. I think the original title was Thinking Bigger Than You Ever Thought You Could. And I got to be thinking bigger than you ever thought you could. And then you start listening to it, and the first 20 minutes of his little thing, and it's like 8 hours. He says that he wants you to write out 100 goals, and don't come back to the tape until 100 goals have been written.
I think I'd have issues writing out 100 goals. That seems like a lot.
So guess how many goals I've written out since I've read that book?
How long? How long has it been?
It's been 15 years.
You've probably written out like 1,000 goals or something.
I'm darn close to about 1,500 goals.
Yeah.
Like every year, I open up 3 pages and I just go to town, and I try not to look at the last ones until after I wrote the first one, my new 100, and then I go to the last set and the set before that, and I take purple, and I highlight purple all the things that I've accomplished on that 100 goal list. And some of them I haven't accomplished. Some of them it took 7 years to accomplish. Some of them it took 3 months to accomplish. Some of them happened overnight, practically. But what it does is you're programming the side of your brain that sees opportunity instead of seeing defeat. And what I will tell you, if you live in fear, if you live in defeat, then the hopeless spirit comes upon you. And if that spirit of hopelessness comes upon you and grips you, breaking that is very, very challenging. And I believe it can only be done through prayer, fasting, and an assembly of brethren and sisterin that can help come together and work you through that. I think it and frankly, a part of that fasting process, I think, is abstaining not just from food altogether, but abstaining specifically from inflammatory foods and reconditioning the body towards good foods. And but I go back and I highlight those purples because it lights up the side of the brain that goes, you remember when you wanted to fix up your truck and 3 months later you sold that truck because you couldn't afford it and you had to go down to one car, but then 7 years later God gave you a brand new state-of-the-art truck fully paid for. Oh yeah, that's cool. 7 years it took, and some people go, I ain't waiting 7 years. Well, you can live in debt, but the Bible says to be a slave to the lender. Well, I don't want to be a slave to the lender, so I made a sacrifice and risked my reputation. Oh, Dr. Chapa's only got one car. He can't. He's living like the Joneses. He can't. And now look at him. He's broke. No. He was getting back up again. Praise God. And
what would be good to do a show talking about goals, health goals, spiritual goals, goals during this time. I feel like that'd be interesting.
You know what? Maybe you and I brainstorm about that this week, and maybe we can shoot off into, because we have one more, the end of this. We've been talking about stress for 3 weeks, so maybe we'll end the show the month on a really high note like that. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
And I'll happily share some of the things that that God has been good to bless us with that I wrote down, and it literally took 8 years, 9 years to come to fruition. And and I'll share things that, I mean, some of these things you have to really push beyond your limit. Why not? I mean, why do we limit our ability to reach for the stars? Why do we limit our ability to do the impossible? Because we listen to the naysayers, we listen to the negative administrators in our head, and we've got to get past that. And we have to say, I don't care what anybody thinks about me. I care about what the Word of God says about me. I care about who I belong to, and I want to make a difference in light of the darkness that we're living in right now. Like, instead of living and looking around like, oh, I'm in quarantine and it's no fun and this is a burden, like, let's try to figure out ways to change our administrative assistant to being the one that sees opportunity. What can you create? Oftentimes, the best businesses and the best movements, grass efforts movements, have always come through adversity and through challenge. So if we lie on the ground throwing a temper tantrum or a pity party or wanting one, then we're hopeless. If we get in the trenches and say, well, what am I going to do today since I can't work? What am I going to do today that I should have probably been doing, preparing my fields for the last 2 years, 3 years? Like, in some respects, again, you can either expect the worst and never be surprised, or you can be prepared for everything and never be surprised. I'm just telling you, it's more fun to be prepared. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not fully prepared. My eyes are getting woken up right now to stuff. And I think that we need to all be looking beyond, what is just being said on the fronts of media. We need to be open to listening to some of the things that are not necessarily easy to digest, but you do it prayerfully. I'll listen to this one podcast, and it was truthful information, I think, but the lady was so bitter. She was so resentful. She was so angry, and I could just tell, like, she's not filled. The Holy Spirit's not leading that.
And that kind of communication, it connects with some people, but it spreads that same
vibe, and we don't need that.
Yeah, if they have a little bit of it, it may help magnify that in them. So, like, there's a way to get your message across in a loving manner.
And ultimately, I think that's one of my heart's desires is, like, I want people to recognize, hey, there is evil all around us. I mean, the Bible says it. It says that there's a lion that seeks whom he may devour, that the devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy. But the Bible says, too, that Jesus already won, and that he comes to give life and to give life more abundantly, that we're blessed going in and we're blessed going out. We're blessed in the city and we're blessed in the fields, and that no weapon formed against us will ever prosper. And where one can put 1,000 to flight, two can put 10,000 to flight. So if we don't stir each other up in love and good works, and if we keep forsaking the assembly of ourselves together, as is the manner of some, we're going to miss an opportunity to do something great for the next generation and the next generation and the next generation. And I think that this is a message that when I share with people, it's not just to give them a healing. I'm interested in your healing, just like God is interested in your healing. I'm more interested in your salvation, but ultimately, I want you to walk in the depth of relationship with Jesus Christ all the days of your life, because truly, that's where the adventure is. That's where life is fun and challenging and experiential and inspirational, and what I hope to aspire to. And I want to take as many people along that road with me. And so, share this message.
Yes.
Tell as many people as you can about it. Like, bring them to the Zoom call. Like, let's get after it. Let's learn something. And Gardy, as always, thanks for letting me, get on the show and bring ideas. I told you we're going to do something else, but God took us a different way, didn't he?
Yes. I think next week it'd be cool to talk about goals, and maybe we encourage people to write down 5 to 10 goals that they have
They
for their
can
life.
do that. Let's challenge them at least to 25.
25?
Yes.
Dr. Chapa, I don't know. I would be like, wake up.
I've
Wake
already
up.
hit 100, but since
Yeah.
the 100 for the year, goal set that I had, I'm gonna go back and revamp it, and I'm gonna write a new 100, and be bold, be audacious, put it down there, and don't worry if and even date it. Put the date and make sure that it's one of these things that you won't lose. Put it in your top drawer. Look at it every night before you go to bed, or at least once a week. Keep your mind's attention on the vision. People perish for a lack of vision. This is vision. You're casting vision. And so paint your picture. What do you want your life to look like after you've done built it? Write that question down and answer that question. What do you want your life to look like after you've done built it? Because if you can do that, then all of a sudden you can go into an exercise like this and recognize, I can dream bigger. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And Lord, give me the wisdom, give me the understanding, and the ability to think bigger than I ever thought I could. And for this exercise, we're giving you permission to be selfish. Like, be selfish. Like, go big and see how it goes.
So, yeah, next Tuesday, it's April 28th, 9 a.m. Dr. Chapa will be back on KHEA Radio. Come prepared to maybe share in the comments some of your goals
fun. Yeah,
that you have.
Great.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to talk, encourage one another. How do you plan to get there? And maybe we can have some help with that as well. Nutritional, business, family, financial, spiritual, whatever it is. This is KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM. This is Kickstart. I'm Gardy. Dr. Chapa with Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center in League City is there to serve you, so you can reach out. And how would somebody do that?
281-554-8600 or our website, justlivewell.com, or visit our Facebook group, and I believe that's Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, but we're on all the social media platforms, and be a part of what we're doing. I'm telling you, we believe in you. We believe that we can help make a difference, and we hope to hear from you soon. God bless you all.
Coming up next on KHEARadio.com or on the KHEA Radio app, you can check out this song by Elevation Worship. All right, Facebook. Hey, y'all be good. See y'all next week.